Hello and welcome. I hope you're safe and well. Today's exciting episode is part one of me making the cherry jacket, which I think is going to take me rather a long time. So I've made it in a sort of flat butterflied way so that I can do all the beading.
It's perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Perfect jacket.
I bought this cherry fabric because it's absolutely adorable. It's a synthetic fabric. If it had been a cotton print, I would have bought like 4 or 5 yards and made a vintage dress out of it for sure. But it's synthetic. It's like a crepe or a whatever silk is when it's not silk. And so I bought a yard of it and I'm going to make a Chanel style jacket. And then I'm going to do copious amounts of beading over the beige bits. So as per usual, I'm doing a structural layer. I'm actually using 2 layers of netting in the structural layer because there's going to be so much beading on it and it just needs it to carry the weight properly. So I've cut 2 of every single piece except the undersleeves, and because you only need 1 for the undersleeve, there's less beading there. And so 2 sets, and then I pin them together, so I'm working with them as one piece. And then those are the front ones, this is the back of the jacket, and so I'm using the shell method, and then I'm going to drape the actual fashion fabric over the top. So you have your jacket in 3 parts. Oh, this is me just telling you I also cut out the center front pieces of the jacket as well. So these are my front pieces, and I'm going to pin the front left together, the front right together, and then I'm going to pin all 3 of the back pieces together. And for now, we set aside the sleeves. It's a 2-part sleeve, so I'm going to set those aside for now. But I will put the camera down and I will pin everything together. Okay, so I've got front left, front right, and the 3 of the back ones are together. You just match up the notches on each piece and then pin them together. So now I'm going to machine sew all these long seams together, ta-da, magically. And I also was very, very short of time. So instead of hand stitching the seam allowance, I splayed it open and did machine sewed it. There's going to be so much beading on this that I think it's okay. I wouldn't recommend it for anyone else, but because I know how much beading I'm going to do on it, it will hide that laziness of mine. I would definitely recommend you do the stitch the seam allowance back using hand stitching rather than machine stitching, because machine stitching creates a hard seam. So now I'm doing the draping part. That's the technical name, but basically you've got your netting shell and then you pin the fashion fabric or outer fabric to it. And you do the center panel first because that's a flat one, and then you do mold sort of the 2 side ones for the back. And once that's done, I did the 2 fronts. Normally I do the center fronts together, but I literally only bought 1 yard of this fabric, and I did the undersides of the 2 fronts together. Anyway, so once I'd pin the fashion fabric to the 2 fronts and the back. Then I pin the fashion fabric to the 2 outer sleeves, the 2 under sleeves, and lastly I use the scraps of the fabric to get the 2 front center lining pieces. So now I have to pin these 2 bits that look pink, they're the front center lining to the fronts, and I also need to pin the sleeves together. So these are the upper sleeve, basically the biggest part of the sleeve, and then I've also got the undersleeve, which is the second part of the sleeve, and I'm going to pin them together only on one side. I'm only going to sew them together on one side because I'm doing so much beading. I need to half make the sleeve and then do all the beading, and then I'm going to have to hand sew the second seam together. It's really complicated, But there's really, like, the only other way to do this amount of beading is to make the sleeve and then do the sequin work. And when I was making the Egyptian jacket, which has, it's the same type of sequin or beading work involving sequins that I'm going to do on this. And it's so frustrating. It's going to be so much easier to work on a flat piece. So anyway, I machine sewed all those bits together, and once I'd machine sewed the front lapels on, then I sewed the front left and front right to the back. So now I've got one whole piece for the torso. Normally, if you're making a jacket, you sew the shoulders together, but I want it as flat as possible. So I'm trying this method. If it works, well, we'll see. I hope this will work. Anyway, so now I have to splay open those seams that I just machine sewed. So here we go. So we've got the front lining, and then we've got the side bit there, another side seam, and then there's the front one there. So I've pinned the seam allowance back. Now I have to hand stitch these into place. The rest of it, as I said, is going to be beaded with the sequins, so I can leave the pins there and they can do that. If you're making a tweed jacket, you have to hand stitch your outer fabric to the structural layer. But because I'm literally just about to do the beading, it's going to hold the two layers together. The act of beading will hold them together. So yeah, and my gosh, it takes like 2 seconds in a video, but this doing the hand stitching takes the longest part. So anyway, I pin back the sleeves too, but the thing about the sleeves is I also had to pin back the second seam, even though I haven't made the two pieces into a whole sleeve yet. I still had to pin back the seam allowance because I'm going to hand stitch it together once all the beading is done on it. So that was difficult to do. You just have to pin it in a way that it seems like it's already been sewn. So it's a little tricky, but I got there in the end. And this is me just showing you, you don't have to do lots of stitches. It's just got to hold the seam allowance in place. So yeah, and not be too visible from the outside. So here we go. It's yeah, it's going to look very different when the sequins are on there. I know it looks a bit like pajamas or something at the moment, but once it's got the three-dimensionality on it, it's just going to look completely different. But yeah, and this is me doing those extra seams. Took forever. And as you can see, there's still loads of pins in here. I will take them out as I go, but I'll leave them in just to keep the two layers in the right place. So there we go. All the hand stitching is done. We're up to the part where I have to get out the sequins and start doing all the beading, which is, oh my gosh, it's just going to take forever. But this is going to look so adorable. I can't decide whether to add beads, like a red bead or two to each cherry, or maybe a white bead where the gloss of the shine of the cartoon cherry is. So I'm not sure. And I just tucked under the front so you can get a better idea, the front lining lapel, so you can get a better idea of, see, that's the front left, back and front right of the jacket. And now I decide to, I got out the sample. So yeah, it's not going to be as thickly done as the beading that I'm about to do. It's kind of going to be halfway between this and the Egyptian jacket that I showed you with the gold ones. This colouring, but yeah, you will be able to see a little bit of the beige background. So, or maybe I'll go back and do it more densely. We'll see. Anyway, I decide, and I just tipped out the sequins so that I feel like you get a good idea. I've got some clear green beads that I'll use on it, but also some beige opaque ones, so I might use them. I don't know. I first thought of this idea. I wasn't sure about those sort of lime green or bright green ones, but now I just can't imagine it without the greens. They're just so pretty, and I think they play well with the dark green of the leaves of the cherries. And then I've taken the torso and I've pinned the shoulders together so I can put it on the mannequin to show you. Obviously the neckline isn't done yet, so it doesn't fit on the mannequin properly, but it'll give you a rough idea and it'll give some kind of ending to this video. Otherwise I was like, yeah, it's butterfly laid out on the table and looks like nothing at all yet. This way it's sort of, you can tell what it's going to be. And yeah, I think it's going to look cute. I do think I probably need some kind of three-dimensionality on the actual cherries, because there's just going to be so much depth and, so much height and visual interest in the beige areas, because they're going to have all the sequin and beading and everything. And I'm not sure having none on the cherry sections will work, but we shall see. I'm going to have to use like red thread to do the red sections, so I'll have to do all the beige stuff first, or half the beige stuff, and then I'll have a look, and I might go back and do twice as much beading, sequin work sort of thing. I'll have to do it in layers so that it carries the weight better. But it looks, it's a little weird because it's got all the pins on the inside, but it just gives you a pretty good idea of what it's going to look like. And obviously I can't show you the sleeves yet because I'd have to hand stitch them together, only to cut the hand stitching and lay them flat again. But I think you get a kind of vague idea of what I'm going for. I think it's going to look really cheerful and fun. Anyway, so yes, and this is me saying don't forget the sleeves. I think hopefully this way of beading will work, because making the whole jacket first, then beading it, oh my gosh, it's just so, like, I'm going to obviously have to leave sections around where the sleeves join and where the neckline is and the shoulders join, and I'll have to hand do those sections after the whole jacket is made. But I just feel like this is going to be so much easier to bead. Here's hoping. And I think I really like the idea of using the brighter light green in there. It's just so playful and fun. But also, I just think it looks so cute with the white, the silver and the beige. I'm really looking forward to this one. It better work, otherwise I'll be very disappointed. Anyway, I am going to go and do a test section, probably under the arm, under the sleeve, just to see what it looks like. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Oh, I hope this jacket works out. Anyway, stay tuned. There will be a second part 2 at some point, eventually. Sounding super confident there. Anyway, thanks again for watching, and happy sewing and beading. The sample looks like a little parrot, doesn't it? Sitting on my shoulder. Okay. Wish me luck.